One of the things that I saw, and this is in some of the advertisement, if you will, that UPS did, but I saw the demo. One of their thought processes is you still have the standard UPS truck that goes out and does its route. So as you go on your route, say from point here, you're delivering a package, and say you got to deliver a package way over here about, a mile and a half away. Their vision is that they have a drone on the vehicle itself. So they then put that package on that drone, and that drone then flies to that other site while the truck's going down here. Then the drone comes back. So it makes their route three-dimensional versus linear. So they can cover more space in that area. That was one of their big pushes. I think it was at Heli Expo this last year that they were talking about that. Also at Uber Elevate in Washington, D.C., that was one of the things they were looking at. So if you have a drone delivery system, so one of the groups that I'm working with right now is UPS and consulting with them a little bit. So they're big in this space as far as drone service. They wanted to deliver packages. And that's one of probably the biggest areas right now is package delivery. UPS just did sign an agreement with Wingcopter. I don't know if you've seen that or not. So Wingcopter is in that space as far as a drone manufacturer. It's an interesting concept. It looks like it has some potential. Smaller packages. How big are these going to be? It's hard to tell just yet. I would say most of these are going to be under 55 pounds. But I've also seen drone UAS type vehicles in delivery, 500 pounds. There's one, I can't remember the name of the company right now. They're looking at doing 3,000 pound cargo lifts to remote areas up in Alaska, unmanned drone operations. So yeah, it's a really interesting field right now, but UPS and its focus right now is that marriage of the vehicle, the UPS vehicle, the standard vehicle augmented with a drone to be able to cover more territory faster than that would normally take them a week to do, a drone can do in a day. The other players in this space, Amazon has been playing in this space very, very heavily. So they're looking at possibility of, instead of the truck, is actually having a small hub somewhere. Then the drone would fly from that hub out and do deliveries. You actually might see Amazon losing some ground here because the drone operation may actually provide an equalizer to the mom and pop area in a small region. And now all of a sudden they have this capability to compete with Amazon. So that'll be interesting to see that develop.
Look, I think that, if you go back 6 months ago, people would have, really questioned whether, do we really need drones, like to be involved in the supply chain, in particular in the last mile of package or good delivery. And I think as you fast forward past the COVID crisis, where you very much can see the need for a last mile delivery solution that doesn't involve the human element, and I think drones can fit that element of solution very nicely, simply by having a small or high valuable payload like medical, pharmaceutical, or blood plasma products that can be delivered to individual houses or rural community hospitals. They certainly have a very critical role to play in the future in that last mile delivery. As a matter of fact, UPS just announced here this week that they're using drones to deliver pharmaceuticals, people's prescriptions, in a large retirement community in Central Florida called the Villages. Recently, I think the manufacturer Kawasaki has delivered a agricultural crop and pesticide spraying drone, which historically had been done with larger, more costly aircraft, which requires like a pilot and an expensive aircraft to fly at very low levels and apply these either pesticides or kind of growth solutions for the crops. But with the Kawasaki drone, they're able to fly at low levels and do all of these treatments, not risk the pilot of the aircraft. And, of course, it's not great for the pilot because they're spraying chemicals and they're breathing them in all day long for, years at a time. So I think in terms of agriculture, the drones are certainly going to play a part in the care and feeding of crops and protecting of them. And I think, further, if a farmer wanted to get a good aerial view of his crops and to see if this irrigation is working well, he could sit on his front porch and just, kind of fly his drone around the farm and see how things are going.
And they deliver blood plasma vaccines in Africa, in Ghana and Rwanda. In those countries, their road structures are not good. They have medical clinics that are out in the field or out in the country. And oftentimes women go in for childbirth, and because they are literally in a clinic and not a hospital, they bleed out or they have blood, they need blood transfusions. Zipline can deliver by a little box. They put it in a box that drops from a parachute to a medical clinic, and they can give blood as needed. But it's maintained or it's kept in a facility that has, plenty of infrastructure like refrigeration and all of the packaging that they need. So they ship this stuff out to the medical clinics, and they can operate up to 15 drones all autonomously at the same time. And I mentioned earlier about them speaking to each other. These drones, up to 15, literally speak to each other, so they never get in the way of each other, even when they come back to be recovered.
So working with a couple of the folks that do organ transplant, moving organs, hearts and lungs and livers and kidneys. That's a big thing right now. Testing being done, I think it's in Virginia right now with one of Alphabet's subsidiaries being part of Google. So Google's heavy into this space as well. So they're looking at, drone deliveries from like a CVS or a Walgreens. It's got a small footprint as far as its radius, but with high volume. So, when you're filling prescriptions, you're sending this drone out to drop this off. We're talking very small packages, but at very high volume with, one vial of drugs could, cost $500-600. You never know.
Yeah.
A lot of departments of transportation love to use drones for inspection.
Roofs, cell phone towers, things that take effort to get on top of. A large factory, for example, would be a great use of a drone because you've got the expense to get either a lift or a crane or somehow get the personnel on top of the structure, where the drone is a one person. It flies up and can maintain its position over areas of the structure for any length of time, or as long as the drone can be in the air. You can get close, you can get high resolution video or pictures of whatever components that you're looking at. It might be an air conditioning unit that is leaking. So you can really get in close by using the smaller drones. It's a lot faster to just take off the drone, do the inspection, and recover the drone. Where in a person going up, you have to get the crane, get the person to the structure, and I'm thinking of a cell tower or a communication tower. You have to climb it. You have to take your time to get to the top, where a drone can fly up in a matter of seconds. So the timing of the inspection is a secondary benefit. Real estate. That's a great tool for a realtor to promote the outside of a home. I bring the drone right to the front door, and then I back up along either the walkway or maybe just a pan shot, back the drone up to show the entire front yard or front of the house. And then when you reverse the video or the image, it shows the drone flying down into or to the front door. And then it cuts to opening the front door, walking in, and now you're inside the house. Two different cameras, but when you put them together, it makes for a really cool presentation. There's another piece of aerial photography, which is site management or site videos, pictures of places that are hard to get, like a coastline. Coastlines may only be accessible by boat. And how do you get there to take a nice video of a beautiful beach? Aerial pictures can help promoters in all sorts of ways. Just a little background. When I started my flying career, I bought myself an airplane, a little Cessna 150, and I paid for it by taking aerial pictures of cranberry bogs up in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And the owners, well, the company was Ocean Spray. So at Christmas time, we would give them a nice picture as a gift. You could expand that to, of course, real estate, marketing and promotional, commercial images. You can sell images online. So there's many different ways to promote.
And we've been using them for several years now. And they first kind of came to be used for ranch properties or larger acreage properties, because it was a good way to give either an overview of the land or cover more of that for online tours that we're sending to our clients, so that they understand the topography, whether there's water, resources, trees, grassy areas, and things like that. And it was really expensive several years ago, so you didn't use it on every home. Well, here in the last, I'd actually have to do some research, but probably in the last couple of years, the prices have come way down. A lot of us that sell in the Dallas-Fort Worth area use drones, and we hire outside companies that are experts at utilizing the drones and the camera equipment to film interiors of homes, exteriors of homes, to give more of a 3D view of the property, because most of our buyers now are starting their searches online. So the use of drones helps people get more of a 3D view, understanding of what that property looks like and whether or not they want to go with an agent to go see them. And so here in the last 45 days, that's changed yet again for us because of our restrictions on sheltering in place. And so we are an essential business, but a lot of our buyers are not interested in traveling to go see homes or going into somebody else's home. So we are using all this drone video footage online to give people real-time tours. And it seems to be working. I mean, a lot of people are really narrowing down their list. It's going to save us time and money in the real estate industry because we won't be out in our cars out showing as many properties if we can get better footage and just better pictures and better online tours, so that buyers are going to fewer houses before they make their final decision on what they purchase.
Look, as it relates to the wind turbines, whether they're onshore or offshore, today they're accessed normally offshore. They're accessed via a helicopter, which will take a work person out to the wind turbine platform, and they'll do like a very physical inspection. It's high labor content, and while they're doing the inspection, of course, the rotating turbine is parked in its static position, so it's not generating any energy. So the quicker you can do the inspections, the quicker you can get the turbine back up and powering again. So it's got a high value to get it done quickly. With a drone, you can stay at a remote distance, use the high definition camera, follow a path around the blades, hub, body, do your inspection, move on to the next one, return that offshore wind turbine to service. Onshore, same thing, difficult terrain, not easily accessible. Drone is a good, low cost, kind of high value solution for providing that inspection and observation of those wind turbine platforms.
Okay, here's the state of affairs right now. The Air Force has retired all of their MQ-1 aircraft, and now the only aircraft that the Air Force is buying is the MQ-9. So the MQ-9 Reaper here is about the same size as an F-16 Fighting Falcon. So it's about the same size as F-16 fighter jet. But here's the interesting thing, Isabella, is it has the same ordnance loadout. So it's got missiles here and bombs here. It can carry the same amount of bombs and missiles as an F-16. And so it costs about 16 million per unit. That means for one aircraft. And then here's how the military justifies their aircraft. It only cost us $3,624 per flight hour. So take a look at this chart. So this came out of Forbes, but this gives you an idea, you know, why it's cost effective. The F-35 that we just talked about is $28,000 an hour, and an F-22 is the most. It's $33,538 per flight hour.
Wow.
So really, you know, I mean, the MQ-9, it does the same job as these two airplanes here, but it costs about half as much. We don't have to buy the drone a steak dinner when they come back. We don't have to give them time off. We don't have to give them a big paycheck because they're a pilot, and we don't have to give them vacation. So pilots and people are the military's biggest cost, you know, because we have to give them all those benefits. We will always have room for drones or remotely piloted aircraft in the U.S. military. Our next step, though, that we need to work on, and it just happened recently, is if I want to fly this, say, from Dallas, Fort Worth, and I want to fly to Phoenix, Arizona, right now, because on board this aircraft, I don't have see and avoid technology. You know, the idea is that we don't want a drone to hit a Southwest jet over Dallas. You know, that would be bad. The two big things are the see and avoid. We can fly them all over the country without a chase aircraft. The weaponeering, the sensor technology, and the payloads are really the areas for further advancement with that. So you asked for some of the positives. Delivery of logistics. So the U.S. Marine Corps had what was called a K-MAX helicopter. Well, the Marines worked with NavAir, and they came up with a helicopter, and it could deliver food and supplies and bullets into these guys without them having to physically go out and drive a car or a truck or a vehicle, you know, because like 12 miles in Afghanistan is like a 4-hour trip because, you know, there's bad guys everywhere. It delivered more than 750,000 pounds of cargo during 230 missions. Navy has a couple things. They have a couple helicopters, and then they also just came off with this new Boeing Stingray, which is called the MQ-25. And the MQ-25, it kind of looks like a flying wing. So the Navy is going to use that airplane, that MQ-25, it's called the Stingray, and they're going to use it for, you know, in the military, you should try and develop your drone technology to address kind of what they call the 3Ds. And those 3Ds are dumb, dirty, or dangerous missions. And that's really things like tanking other aircraft. You know, where can we use automation instead of having a human in there? So in this case, they're going to use the naval aircraft. They can't fly off the carrier and make it to where they need to be. They always have to hit a tanker, meaning get more fuel in order to come back to the ship. So this MQ-25, that flying wing that you saw, they're going to use that for the refueling mission for the fleet. So they can launch that, and believe it or not, that thing can carry 25,000 pounds of fuel, and it can refuel the other F-18s, the other manned aircraft. And so that's what they're going to do with that as well. Air-to-air combat is best to be left to humans at this time. And culturally, it's a cultural thing. The fighter pilots who run the Air Force and the Navy, they're kind of unwilling to share that mission set. Although a drone or remotely piloted aircraft doesn't care about how many G's, right, G forces it pulls, it could handle consistent G forces maneuver as the structure can take it. And so the following are examples of possible small UAS operations that can be conducted under this framework. So I mentioned intel, surveillance, reconnaissance, tracking vehicles, people, and in the military, we like the word nefarious activity. So I listed nefarious there.
I would say in the next 5 to 10 years, it'll probably be, you know, commonplace that you'll see drones delivering packages. I say in 5 years, you'll see DHL, UPS, and FedEx starting to, you know, have that footprint, so it's along with Amazon too. So with that, you'll also see is a double-edged sword. So one of the things that we see going on right now is when a helicopter pilot is going through his career, he gets all of his flight time, gets his experience, and then moves kind of in a progressive chain through that professional ranking. Drones are carving out a section that helicopters have been in primarily for a long time. You're going to see that drive autonomous vehicles, pilotless vehicles for the larger stuff. That's probably the, you know, 15, 20 year down the road thing. So when you talk about what Uber's doing, so Uber's heavily involved in the aviation side from the air taxi model. Uber's goal is to have an air taxi business model in place and operation by 2023. That's 3 years. They want to have starting point in Los Angeles, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Sydney, Australia right now. In 10 years, they want to have, you know, a couple hundred of these aircraft doing taxi operations with aircraft. 20 years, they want to actually have aircraft that have no pilot on board. They want autonomous vehicles doing this operation.
The other piece is fire, police, disaster recovery. So we're looking at the future of drones going into places that they need rapid assessment for whether it's a fire or a natural disaster. That's where I think departments and in local cities and counties and states, they will benefit from using drone technology to do rapid assessments for all sorts of things. Regulations definitely need to be modified. They need to be built around being able to autonomously fly multiple drones in the same space. So the key piece to supply chain going forward is getting the smaller drones to speak to each other so they don't interfere with each other. I think the supply chain is exciting, but it is down the road. You're right. I think the drone industry initially will do rapid assessments and emergency services. Now there'll be some delivery in rapid assessments and in emergency services, but it won't be delivering packages to your home. It will be delivering packages, small amounts, to specific locations where maybe a bridge has been washed out and we can't get vehicles to a community. So the drone is a perfect solution for that. And it's a lot cheaper than a helicopter.